What's going on, guys? KW Stout, healthmindpower.com. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 ways to create sustainable eating habits. So when people first try to lose weight or build muscle or whatever it is, and they start to consider what they're eating, and they start to make changes to their diet, most people have a tendency to just jump off into the deep end right away, which is great for some things, but not for dieting. So the best way to approach diet is to create habits that you can stick with forever. So you have to change your mindset and stop thinking about your diet as a diet. It's not just a temporary way of eating. Okay, you want to think of it as, instead of thinking, okay, how can I lose weight and then just drop everything and not have to diet or exercise? That just doesn't work. So fitness is a lifestyle, and a lifestyle requires habits. So, jumping into doing, if you're just going to do some little 30-day diet or whatever, you might as well just not even bother. I mean, why waste your time? Why be miserable for a month and then just put all the fat back on? What's the point? Why not just, if that's what you're going to do, why not just stay fat and enjoy yourself? Just my take. So, okay, getting into it. Number 1, don't jump into a starvation diet right away. So, of course, everyone wants results now. We live in a society where we can pretty much have anything we want, just like that. But when it comes to fat loss, you can't. So, the further along in your fat loss journey, the more you're going to have to decrease your calories. So it doesn't make sense at all to jump right all the way down to the lowest end of calories. What you want to do is eat as many calories as you can possibly eat while still losing weight. That's the way to do it. And then you slowly decrease them as you hit plateaus, and as your fat loss stalls, you slowly decrease the calories. And once you get down towards, around 10% body fat, and you actually want to, if you're a guy or if you're a girl, a little higher, and you want to look leaner and start seeing a lot more muscle definition, at that point, that's when you're going to need to drop down to a pretty low calorie diet. But if you do that early on, before you've gotten that lean, then your body's going to adapt, and you won't even be able to lose weight at that low of calories. Then where are you going to go? You can't just eat nothing. You become malnourished. So the first habit, don't jump into a starvation diet. Don't go into what some people call poverty macros right from the beginning. Okay, work your way to that, then slowly work your way out of it. No one wants to be starving themselves all the time, year round, and it's not even necessary. Okay, habit number 2 is pretty similar. It's kind of similar, and that's to avoid highly restrictive diets. Now, for some people like these type of diets, but for most people, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work out. So a highly restrictive diet would be something like a vegan diet, a ketogenic diet, anything that basically, or doing something just absolutely stupid like the grapefruit diet or something like that. Anything that dramatically restricts what you're allowed to eat is not a good idea if you're doing it for the purpose of dieting and your fitness goals. So now if you want to become a vegan for moral reasons because you don't like killing animals, then that's fine. That's because you have something that's going to sustain it. So the reason why you want to avoid these highly restrictive diets is because realistically you're not going to stick with it. It's not sustainable. So if you do have some kind of moral reason or something else that's going to drive you forward in doing that, then yeah, by all means, go for it. And the same goes if you have some kind of health condition. Like, for example, some people have to be put on a keto diet as recommended by their doctor for certain health conditions. Well, again, that's different. So, when it comes to your health, that is number 1. So that's what's going to drive you. But for most people, a keto diet or any of these diets, it's not going to improve your health, and it's just going to suck. You're just going to be miserable, and it's not necessary. A restrictive diet is not necessary at all to lose fat. Keto is not the best way to lose fat. Keto is a great way to lose fat in the short term, but in the long term, it's nothing special. It's just the fad. It's just one of those fads that comes around and goes around every so often in the fitness world, and it's kind of the hot thing right now, but Honestly, it's nothing special, just a low carb diet. Okay, habit number 3 is to recalibrate your taste buds by eating whole foods. This is a really, really important one if you want to have sustainable eating habits, meaning long-term eating habits that are going to keep you in good health and in your best shape. So how this works is it's kind of, it makes sense logically. It's just not something that people typically do to even get a chance to see this happen for themselves. But when you start to eat mostly whole foods, meaning 80% of what you eat or more are whole foods, then your taste buds change and you actually learn to like whole foods better. And a lot of the junk food just doesn't quite taste as good anymore. Like, for example, yeah, it's funny. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who struggled with his weight for his whole life, and he says, oh, well, just eat whatever you want, and you continue to look that way. And I try to tell him, like, no, I don't do that anymore, man. I stopped doing that years ago. And the thing is, I don't want to eat that shit anymore. I don't want to eat fast food anymore like I used to. It just doesn't taste as good to me, And I was trying to explain to him that I don't think McDonald's tastes good. I really don't. I think Chick-fil-A tastes amazing. I just don't think McDonald's tastes good anymore. I don't think most of those shitty fast food restaurants taste good anymore. It's just really low quality food. It's nasty. I don't feel very good afterwards. I mean, I just don't enjoy it, And he didn't believe me. He kept thinking I was lying. He said there's no way you don't think that food is good. And I kept trying to tell him, yeah, no, I seriously, I would rather go find food at a gas station than eat at McDonald's, personally. Now, I remember a few years ago when I was living in this really remote area whenever I was working in the oil industry, and there were no good restaurants around or anything, and pretty much all we had was a McDonald's and a Dairy Queen and a Sonic, I think. And yeah, I did, I cooked most of my meals, but man, sometimes I did get McDonald's. I did, because when there's nothing else to eat. So I'm just making the point that I'm not saying that I would just never eat it, or I'd rather starve than not eat it. It's not very good. I just don't find it to taste very good, and that's because I eat mostly whole foods. And once you do, your taste buds really do change, where fruit becomes candy for you, and real candy is just too sweet and makes you feel sick. I can't remember the last how many years it's been since I drank a pop, or I guess I have. I can remember now. But even so, I don't even consider a pop a beverage. I haven't considered a pop a beverage or a drink in years, maybe since I was in high school. I see it as a treat. It's a sweet treat. It's not a drink. It's just way too sweet to just consider it a drink or something that's going to hydrate me. But yeah, so people don't like vegetables and fruit and all that, but that's because you're used to eating out, and whenever you eat out or when you eat processed food, those things are typically full of oil, salt, and sugar. And those are 3 things that they put in an abundance, which triggers your taste buds. You got all these different little sensor areas that can detect sweetness and saltiness and different stuff. And when you're used to just getting such an overwhelming sensation from everything you eat, it no longer is overwhelming and it becomes normal. And then when you eat whole foods that aren't jam-packed full of that stuff, it tastes bland. And when you look at people who eat healthy food and you think they seem to enjoy it, and you wonder how they enjoy it, it's because they've recalibrated their taste buds back to they're more sensitive to all that stuff because they don't eat as much salt and sugar and oil packed foods. So like whenever I go eat at a restaurant, nowadays it's just, other people it might just be a normal meal, but for me it tastes incredible because it's just got so much overwhelming flavor compared to what I'm used to. But this is habit number 4. The way to make your whole foods taste more enjoyable are to add seasonings to your food. And this is one thing I noticed when people get into eating healthy and they start cooking. They typically have not had that much experience with cooking meals for themselves, or they just follow recipes, or maybe they've just used a lot of boxed foods or pre-made foods that they just heat up, and those things are typically seasoned. But then when you go buy some chicken breast and you buy some broccoli and rice, it doesn't come seasoned, and a lot of people, they just think I can't. They just expect it to taste as good as if it was something else, prepared by a chef that put lots of seasoning to it to create a very specific flavor. So the best thing you can do to learn how to enjoy healthy foods and to make it way easier to cook your own healthy foods and eat them all the time is to learn how to use seasonings. And you don't even need to get very complicated. I pretty much stick with the basics for the most part. I use Himalayan salt, black pepper, fresh garlic or garlic powder is great, cayenne pepper, or I like green dragon sauce from Trader Joe's, which is very good if you want something kind of spicy. Oregano, cumin, Italian seasoning, just the Italian seasoning blend. These things are all super simple. Mrs. Dash is a great brand for seasonings because all of her stuff is salt free. So, and by the way, salt is not as bad as everyone makes it out to be, but it's better. I like to control my salt intake by doing it separately than to have it put into other stuff, because I like a lot of seasoning. Whenever I use seasonings, I like to use a lot. And that's the other thing, is when people use seasonings, they kind of sprinkle a little bit on, and they wonder why their food doesn't taste good. Well, you've got to do more than that. You've got to cover it all. Okay. So anyways, yeah, that was number 4. Number 5, this right here is what keeps you from going insane whenever you're eating healthy, and that's if you're tracking your macros, which you should be, then you just find a way to fit in your favorite treats into your macros. It's really simple. Unless your favorite treat is cheesecake, then you're gonna probably have to have a small piece, but it's so easy to fit in snacks and treats that you like into your macros, as long as you don't overdo it. You just figure out the portion that fits into your daily diet plan, and you can have your favorite snacks every single day. I'm notorious for having a sweet tooth and liking to snack on foods late at night. Right now, my go-to fix is Halo Top. So Halo Top ice cream, which is a lower calorie ice cream it's got a lot of protein in it, and it's really, really good. So I can't imagine, unless you're just in a really deep cut and you're already lean and you're trying to get really, really lean, I can't imagine that you can't fit at least half a pint of Halo Top in your macros every day. So, because some of the flavors, they only have like 240 calories for the whole pint, compared to like 500 or 600 for a normal thing of ice cream. So, but again, this comes down to understanding tracking your macros, which is another important part of having sustainable eating habits, is just understanding the main macronutrients that you're eating every day. So when you look at a meal, to the person who's new to all this stuff, they look at the food. But to someone who is more intermediate level in fitness, when they look at, say you've got a plate and it's got let's just say, for example, it's got chicken, rice, and avocado. You see chicken, rice, and avocado. I see protein, carbs, and fat. And that's how I look at everything. You learn to look at your foods for what they are in terms of what they do in your body and in terms of the nutrients. And you look at what the type of food, or just what it is specifically, as more of a flavor than anything else, because you're learning it just changes your perception about it. And that is what really makes it a sustainable eating habit, is because you always kind of have an understanding of what you need in every meal, and you can pick your foods that way. And that keeps you from going overboard by having, too many fat and carbs and not enough protein. So if you don't know how to track macros, if this is all, going above your head, then you can go down below. I have a free guide, the HMP Diet Guide, that explains everything. So how to count your calories, how to track your macros, how to figure out what your macros should be, how to log all of your food in an app, a free app that will track your macros for you, and everything. It's written out for dummies. So I mean, it couldn't be more simple. And it's completely free. So basically, if you were to hire me as a coach, I would be setting your macros for you, or you can use my free guide and do it for yourself. So yeah, be sure to check that out, and like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe, because I'll be uploading daily. So give the channel a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.